Hey, welcome back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Latrice Drayton and I'm owner of Gideon Property Services here in Latrice County. I'm super excited to be with you guys again this week. So this week, I wanted to bring to you, our community here, just a situation that we kind of ran into and we've been working with for the past week and a half and 2 weeks. And the reason why I want to bring it to you, this is for my landlords, but the reason why I want to bring it to you is because I see this happening a little bit more often than we would like to see happen. Okay, so I want to prepare you if you're renting the property on your own, if you're going through our property management company or even another one, why it is so important to make an emotional disconnection from your property. Yes, we have to talk about it. So it is very, very important to emotionally disconnect from your rental property, which is now your income property, a business transaction, and from your regular dealings with the property. Let me tell you what I mean. So generally we have a few types of landlords, okay? We have the landlord who just doesn't care at all, and they say, it's a rental, so they don't put much effort or work into it at all. So we don't want to lean so far on that side of the scale. However, we have other landlords who are very sentimentally attached to their property, whether it is the property itself or whether it is items or belongings that they have decided to leave behind in the property, okay? And I see it more often for people who are furnishing property. We really like to have that conversation up front where, if you've had a piece of item of furniture in your family for 10 years or so, that's probably not the item that you want to leave in the property, whether it's curtains or whatever the case may be, okay? Same thing when it comes to the property itself, right? When it comes to tax purposes, we all know you have to reclassify your property, right? It goes from being a personal property and then it becomes this business transaction, and the government recognizes that as well. Well, we ask you from a property management standpoint to try to do the same, and here's the reason why. So I have a situation that came up which would seem normally like the ideal situation, right? We had this referral come into us, new landlord, we were super excited. Now granted, we didn't get the opportunity to do our in-depth consultation that we normally do because as soon as we got the property on board, because we offer the rental relocation services, we actually had a resident match that was looking for that particular type of property. So they were viewing the property that evening and basically signing the lease paperwork over the weekend to move in the following week, right? Seems like an ideal situation. Well, keep listening. So what happened was in this particular property, this landlord had a whole room, which is about the size of an office, that they were using particularly just for storage. So they had locks on it, they didn't want anyone using that, they were going to use that for their storage. Pause, because we do caution against landlords doing that. So when you're renting out a property, it's always best, whenever possible, to rent out the entire space. Okay, it's just more beneficial for your resident, long term when it comes to your overall profit, things like that. Okay, well, unknown to myself and to this resident, the items that were being held there and the items the landlord wished to add to this particular storage unit were actually items of her mother's. Okay, and of course, in finding out this information, we're very, understanding, and this particular resident, since they were downsizing, they really needed as much space as possible. So again, it came to an ideal type situation where this resident offered to pay for not only the move of the items, but also the storage that these items will be going to. So this landlord who was out of state can have the convenience of that move, right? Seems ideal. Well, what happens, and what I want to discuss with you guys today, is when sentiment gets in the picture of a business transaction, when sentiment and emotions get into this situation, okay? And unfortunately, what happened is no matter how hard both the resident and I tried, this particular landlord was just not happy with the way things were going. Right? And unfortunately, when sentiment gets in there, it's very, very difficult for me as a property manager and even for a resident to really treat those items the way that you would treat it. Okay? The best example that I can think of off the top of my head is, say for instance, we were moving these items. So if I'm thinking I'm sweaty, I'm moving a lot of things, we took a whole Saturday off to do this, so I'm moving things, and if I know it's your mother's possessions, I'm not going to hold it against all my sweat and my crud, right? So I may hold the item like this. The problem with that is when sentiment comes into play, you also have all of those memories and everything else attached with it. So you may remember, Mama hated when people held her items like this, so you're going to hold it like this. Okay? And even though within itself, holding it like this, there's nothing wrong with it, automatically, because sentiment comes to play, it's wrong if I don't do it like this. Okay? And we were running into those similar type of issues where regardless of how hard we tried, regardless of how sympathetic we were, things like that, it's just very, very difficult to treat those items the same way that you would. So for this week, I just want to caution all of our landlords, if you are furnishing a unit, furnishing a property, or if you have left some things behind and they are very sentimental to you, if you are going to be hurt, if you are going to cry, if you're going to be emotionally disturbed, if those items are missing, broken, damaged, whatever the case may be, then you want to go ahead and remove those items. And I know a lot of my property manager friends here in the area and colleagues here, we all feel really much the same about it, and we're not trying to be rude or anything like that, but we see these situations happen all the time. Here's where it could have become a very destructive situation when it came to the business side of the transaction. Now, this resident who was super excited to move into the property, they moved in really early. They offered to pay for these items to be moved and to be stored. This resident, who seems ideal in any other situation, then began to question their decision and question whether they wanted to renew on a long-term basis at this particular property. And what that does for you as the landlord is that affects your overall profit. And that's, you know, you guys hear me say that over and over and over again, and I'm sure you're going to be sick of hearing me say it, but that is what our job is, right? That's what my job is to protect your overall profit, okay? And looking at it down the line, removing those items are a lot more beneficial to you than leaving them there, okay? And of course, as we did in this situation, our job is to make sure that we go above and beyond and do whatever possible to make the situation work for both sides. However, if you can help and just partner with us and take those recommendations as we provide them to you, then I think it will be beneficial on all parts. All right, well, that's all that I have for you guys for this week. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to contact us. Until next time, bye guys.